Yeah, it's kind of a creepy place, you know, because there's no light at all. A lot of experiments out there. Plutonium, nuclear weapon, nuclear destruction. They're just balls of light. There's a ghost.
Hola. How's it going, everyone? So glad y'all can make it tonight. Broadcasting live just outside the Napa Valley wine country through the mystical Sonoma Mountains. This is Beyond the Strange. Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, Dave Cruz, and thank you for joining us this evening. It is Sunday, February 9th, 2020. We have a lot to cover before we get to my guest tonight, Holly Marie. So much to talk about, but first, follow us on Twitter at Strange Days 2015. The hashtag is Beyonders. That'll get your comments, questions, all the things that you need to communicate with us on Twitter. You want to do that at Strange Days 2015. Hashtag Beyonders. Also, you can follow me, Dave, at Strange Dave 70. Okay. And remember, the Strange Chat Discord channel is always popping. I just wanted to say that. Got Russ Bailey and Sis G. How you guys doing tonight? Glad you can make it. Got a really great show with Holly Marie tonight. You guys are going to love it. So yeah, join the Strange Chat Discord channel. Ask for an invite to the Discord channel. Or go to beyondthestrange.com and click on the chat tab. Subscribe to Beyond the Strange YouTube channel also as well. Also, you can find the show's social media on Facebook, Instagram, all under Beyond the Strange. Links are on the website. And remember to subscribe to the website. How's it going, Jen? Glad to see you made it into the Strange Chat. And we got a lot to talk about tonight. We really do. I know I keep saying that, but it's true because it's always a great show with Holly Marie, and you guys will understand why. Night Stalker's jumping in with Lisa Allen. Welcome. Glad y'all can make it to the Discord chat. For my peeps that are at YouTube, how y'all doing out there? I will be looking in there, popping in once in a while, seeing if there's any questions. Donnie in Alaska, how you doing, my brother? And Jess Rogie, the Rogie Report. By the way, I want to make an announcement real quick. We'll be adding, I've been fortunate enough to talk with Jess Rogie, and I'm going to be adding the Rogie Report right here on the Fringe FM broadcast of Beyond the Strange. So you work that out, figure that out, how that works, but it will be the Rogie Report here in just a bit. All right, let me finish this really quick. So yeah, subscribe to Beyond the Strange YouTube channel. Now, I gotta mention this because it's very important. It's important to me, and hopefully it's important to you, because you can find the podcast of the show later on iTunes, Google Play, Spreaker, and Stitcher. This has always been the case for the longest time, ever since I started the podcast. And I've always, left it for free, and everyone can go back and listen to the shows on Spreaker and Stitcher and Google Play and all those places, and iTunes. Now, there's going to be some changes next month. Starting next month, there will only be one show to listen to on Spreaker, the current show of the week, and the rest of the shows, past shows, are going to be going to the show's official Beyond the Strange Patreon. Now, I'm not gonna be asking you guys for a whole lot. I'm only asking you guys for like maybe a couple of bucks for the Patreon. I really appreciate that. That's less than a cup of coffee, and that's per month. Not only that, you get more bang for your buck. There's going to be videos uploaded as well. There's going to be a lot of different other audio outtakes. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. So I need your help. I need your guys' support. Okay. So remember, starting next month, join the official Patreon. Russ Bailey has already given his support. I really appreciate Russ for everything he does for the show. And I appreciate you guys. So please help appreciate me and join the official Beyond the Strange Patreon, where all the past shows will be at. Also, they will be at Bitmovio for the videos. Right now, everything's at YouTube, but everything is going to change over. And that is important because, again, it's different times now, and I need support for the show, and I really need help. So I appreciate everyone that comes to the live show. Please tell everyone about the show. You can listen to it. Always listen live right here on the Fringe FM, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern. Okay. It's, everyone's in the chat, having a great time. I'm so glad you guys are here because, it drives me nuts that people are watching the Oscars and it's so fake, right? I mean, it's like the Golden Globes on steroids, basically. I mean, all these shows just repeat. There are all these actors who are uppity and pat themselves on the back. It's horrible. I don't get it. I barely watch movies as it is now. I mean, it's just, Hollyweird is just all full of, Illuminati's people and, representation and all that crap. It's just so stupid. Thank you, Lisa Island. I appreciate that. And yes, you will be on the show sometime soon. I promise. Yeah, it's crazy. I hate watching these guys give each other kudos for the crap that they put out, poisoning our minds, poisoning our kids' minds. Some of the stuff's okay, but I don't know, man. I mean, I didn't even watch 1917. I mean, by the way, what they're trying to do, in my opinion, is rewrite history anyway. So a lot of the crap doesn't happen that they put out there. It's stupid, but that's probably going to be for another time in the show when it comes to all this stuff for Hollyweird. Anyways, thanks again, everyone. I really appreciate it. All right. So keep checking Beyond Strange website for future updates, merchandise, giveaways, prizes, blah, 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 blah. And, you can donate as well. Now, I want to tell you guys that I will have bonus shows, live shows, during the week. So please go to beyondstrange.com, subscribe to the mailing list. That way I can shoot out a message to you guys and let you know when, who, or what the show is going to be about. And it could be a Wednesday, it could be a Thursday, it could be any day, but it'll be during the week. Okay, so want to give you guys something extra as well for, being supportive and being great. Anyways, just keep checking the website, okay? And get on the mailing list, and you guys will get all that information. I'll also tweet it out. I'll also put it on Facebook. So, there's going to be lots of ways to know when those bonus shows are here. Don't forget, next week, Deb and I are going to have our 11th year anniversary. Amazing. This is amazing, really. 11 years she put up with me. But, 11 years. That's going to be awesome. So there won't be a show on the 16th, but on the 23rd, y'all, been waiting for this Bigfoot expedition show. I promise you it's going to happen. So it's going to be right here on the Fringe FM. And I will have my 4 buds that we went up and did this expedition for Bigfoot somewhere in the lower Oregon area. It's going to be awesome. You'll get all the details, all the stuff, a lot of surprises, what we found, pretty amazing stuff. It was a great time. So keep checking back for all that stuff. And it's going to be great. So Holly Marie is going to be joining me here in a minute, and really glad you all are here again. So just kick back, relax, and enjoy the show tonight. This is Beyond the Strange. I am your host, Dave Cruz. We'll be right back right after this. Don't go away.
This is the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie. Half a dozen big tech companies have now demanded that Clearview AI, a facial recognition company, stop using their data. Clearview's co-founder Ton Tak Hwan tells CBS News.
Right now we have, billions and billions of images from millions of different websites all across the open internet. This is only used for investigations after the fact. This is not a 24/7 surveillance system.
The app has over 3 billion images scraped from websites and social media platforms. Wired's editor-in-chief Nick Thompson explains about facial recognition and how it raises ethical questions.
In order to build it, you have to scrape a lot of public information in ways that may be legal, but that certainly goes against the terms of service of companies like Facebook and Twitter. Secondly, this is really creepy. And the big companies who have the data already haven't wanted to do it.
Google, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook have sent cease and desist letters to Clearview AI to remove the data. Ton Tak explains how they're dealing with the cease and desist letters.
Our legal counsel has reached out to them and are handling it accordingly. But there is also a First Amendment right to public information. So the way we have built our system is to only take publicly available information and index it that way.
Clearview says more than 600 law enforcement agencies across the country use the platform. NASA announced it will contract Colorado company Maxar Technologies to develop a system for robotically assembling spacecraft parts in low Earth orbit. The aim is to use new technology to both manufacture parts such as spacecraft beams and to assemble parts such as communication antennas, all while floating in orbit 1,000 miles above the Earth. This should help make satellite operation more efficient and should also lessen the problem of space debris. UFO Clearinghouse received a report of a humanoid seen ascending into a UFO at Chicago's O'Hare Airport on January 23rd. A witness observed an egg-shaped object less than 500 feet away. He estimated the object was about 40 feet in diameter and about 10 to 15 feet high. The object was silent and shooting rays of light towards the ground. It flew overhead and stopped above the cemetery. The witness explained that the humanoid was taken and disappeared in the brilliance of the light, and within a second or two, the light light ceased, and the object began to rotate in place in a clockwise motion. The object then shot off in a northerly direction and was out of sight within a few seconds. The witness stated he did not venture outside again until the sun began to rise. This is the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie.
Hey there, this is Ryan Gable of the Secret Teachings radio broadcast, and you are listening to the inquisitive Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange on the Fringe FM.
Back, everyone. This is Beyond the Strange. I'm your host, Dave Cruz. Thank you all for being here tonight. Tonight we got a great guest, my friend Holly Marie, and wherever that cut off right away. Hey, really quick, I just want to bring up, I'm not sure exactly what you guys consider what being a shaman is. I got a definition, a person regarding as having access to and influence in the world of good and evil spirits, especially among some peoples of the Northern Asia and North America. Typically, such people enter a trance state during a ritual and practice divination and healing. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because I believe that we're in some really serious times right now. And what I mean is that there's a lot of stuff going on in our world that I feel are definitely have to deal with spiritual warfare, astral tampering, whatever you want to call it. And I say this because Holly Marie is going to lay it down about what happened to her over the past year. And it's some amazing stuff that I haven't heard yet about. So without further ado, Holly Marie is a practicing hypnotherapist and shamanic practitioner. She has been initiated to carry forward the Quero Indian lineage and traditions from the high Andes of South America. Holly Marie uses ancient multidimensional clearing techniques, modern knowledge, and intuition to help people see deep into their subconscious and beyond. The system Holly has developed allows her clients to easily work through hidden beliefs, programs, and trauma that are held on a cellular level. When these energy imprints are cleared, true empowerment and emotional freedom take place. Many of her clients seek Holly for deep-rooted traumas that need to be cleared through the DNA, inner child work, soul retrieval, forgiveness, and emotional clearing to free themselves of mental slavery. Holly Marie also specializes in crossing over souls that are stuck in this realm, paranormal and poltergeist clearings. She has helped many people clear suicidal thoughts and physical ailments by removing entities from them. Holly Marie can effectively clear houses remotely just by working on the residents' emotional bodies. In 2011 to 13, she was in a control group channeling ancient crystal skulls. She worked with the only existing clan of 13 still intact on the planet, the Dolphin Clan. She also worked with the Tsar and E.T. Ancient Crystal Skull and Rainbow of the Mayan legend. She gives much gratitude and love to Lori and Dial Walker for this unique and sacred opportunity. There's a secret gathering of tribes every spring that Holly Marie attends. The invite is by a telephone call, and the tribes present are the Quero, Hopi, Mayan, and Tibetan Master Reincarnate, and various other elders who bring their wisdom and pass it down orally. You can find Holly at www.earthsonghealings.com. Please, everyone, help me welcome back to Beyond the Strange, Holly Marie. Holly, how are you doing?
Hey, Dave, I'm doing really good. Thank you for having me back on.
I am so excited to have you back on the show. It's been way too long, my friend, and I'm hoping I didn't butcher any of that stuff I just said.
No, that intro made me sound so much cooler than I am.
It's because you are.
Oh man, I don't even know where you want to start, but I've got a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, and I think we should definitely start at the beginning. Well, first of all, I want to mention to everyone that Holly and I met at the Contact in the Desert probably about 4 years ago now. Jeez, it's been so long. I think it was 2015.
I think it was before that, but maybe.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time. Absolutely.
Yeah, at the time we were at the Contact in the Desert, and we were with the whole Jimmy Church clan, and I was staying at the first annual Fader House, I believe it was called, and I was able to set up my equipment there, and we did a live show there, and you were one of my first guests to be on that show.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Man, Jimmy Church really, he knows how to throw down for sure.
Big time.
I mean, it's always a great time with him, and he's really genuine. I know everybody's at Conscious Life right now.
Oh, right.
And I didn't make it down this year. I've just been channeling my energy into more, local stuff, family stuff. I started homeschooling, so I did not make it down this year.
Well, if you've made it before, I'm sure you know what it's all about. I still haven't made it down that way, so I'm probably going to do my best to get there next year.
Yeah. I might make it back down next year too.
But we'll see what we have plans in the future for Dave Cruz. I don't know. You never know. I might not be here, but I hope I am. Anyways, I don't want to get dark. That's
wow.
I don't even know where that came from. But look, like I said, we've stayed in touch. We've been on the show a couple times, and a lot's happened. So yeah, let's go ahead and start from the beginning. How did you get into this type of field, if you want to call it that?
So I'll nutshell my past because it's boring.
Okay, that's fine.
I want to get into the fun, juicy, like entity extracting, like cool stuff. But I grew up really, really sick as a child from the get-go, like traumatic birth.
Right.
I almost died during birth. They fired the doctor. This was Kaiser. They don't fire doctors, right? I had the umbilical cord all wrapped around. It was crazy. So I grew up really, really sick, horrible digestion, just really bad immune issues. And then I also grew up very Baptist. So I had a lot of sickness and a lot of fear-based religion. And I'm not saying all Baptists are fear-based. I'm saying the church that we were in was fear-based.
Right.
So I had a lot of negative stuff coming up against me. And then, it was depressing. It was very depressing. And so I ended up becoming a target of bullies, right? No self-esteem. I was going to go burn in hell. I was sick all the time. It was awful. Mm-hmm. So I became very bullied in school and still very religious, which wasn't helping. And I later, when I got out of high school and I did some college, I went into massage therapy. And it was still very very strict massage therapy, like nothing spiritual. And I had a great clientele. None of them were woo-woo. They were very hardworking people. But something wasn't right. Like I would get clients in and I would sense it's like they don't want a massage. They want to be heard. They want to be listened to. They need somebody to listen to them. You know, some people, I try lavender oil, I try all the pressure points, I try not talking back. They just needed to be heard. And so I realized I was dealing with quite a bit of trauma with people, and I wanted to give my clients more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I needed help too. Like I was a pretty successful massage therapist, but I was still dealing with a lot of digestion issues and depression. So it was very compartmentalized. So someone suggested I go to see a shaman, and I had never even heard that word before. Like, I didn't even know what that was. I just said, okay. And I called the lady up, and I went to her for a session, and I was so just disappointed. It was really expensive. She burned some sage, she shook her rattle, and she gave me a power animal. And it didn't work, right? In my mind, it didn't work. Then a couple months later, sure enough, I have to go see that lady again. Even though it didn't work and it was really expensive, I went back. Well, is what I came to realize is that it was working. It really was working on unseen levels. So about the third time I went back, right, she said, why don't you take my class? This doesn't work. You know, I don't want to take your class. This is stupid. But I took the class, right? So I went through the entire shamanic medicine wheel. Then I became her assistant. And through this whole process, I got rid of my depression. I don't get sick anymore. Like, I mean, I've really turned around my whole entire life. I went from depression to really being able to transmute situations into a peaceful situation or looking at the positive. And I'm not saying my life is perfect, and I'm not saying that I don't have struggles,
Sure.
but I'm saying that I can process through them a heck of a lot quicker. And to give her credit, her name is Danny Burling, Your Sacred Destiny, and she is now a resident shaman in some really hoity-toity resort down in Palm Springs. She's very, very good at what she does. And so that's how I came into shamanism.
Okay. So you started feeling better, you got healthier, and a lot of this came from that. What started happening after you started feeling better?
What started happening? You know, it's really interesting how life changes when we begin to feel better. You get different opportunities. Negative people leave your life. And the reason why this happens is our toroidal field, right? Like our toroidal field that is around us and moving through us like a giant donut. You know, HeartMath Institute studies this, and it's this giant circular, for people who don't know what this is, it's a giant circular wave of energy coming out. So is how I explain it, and it sounds silly, but people totally get it, is if you're standing inside a donut, like a pastry donut, and the sprinkles and the frosting are on top, like it's right side up, you're putting out love, light, joy, and bliss. You're putting out all these positive frequencies and energies that literally changes your holographic reality. When you start getting into trauma, the donut gets turned upside down, so the frosting and the sprinkles are now facing down and they're smushed. And that's when we literally become the energy vampire. And we're dealing with fear and sadness and depression. So as we clear that trauma, our whole field gets flipped up into this beautiful fountain. And that literally will change our perception of our reality. And so as I begin to feel better, everything around me began to change. And again, I mean, like, nothing was perfect.
Sure.
But everything just... I never would have met you or Jimmy Church or gone to Contact in the Desert if I was still so depressed and hated myself and was sick all the time, right? But you begin to move through the childhood trauma, the past life trauma, and those negative vibes leave your energy field, and then you move up.
Do you think what happened, like, let's see, for instance, the contact in the desert situation. Do you think that more synchros started happening after you started feeling better after this experience with this healing?
Yes. And it's definitely a journey, but yes, more synchronicities, absolutely. You know who's calling you on the phone. It thins out the veils.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my lineage of shamanism, it comes from the high Andes, from the Karo Indian, who are actually mystics. You have like the lower world or the middle world and the upper world, right? And we're literally in there's many different worlds, but the physical world that we're in right now is dense. It's very dense. And as you move up into like Kaipacha, the higher world, which can literally, I think it's 10,000 feet or higher, the densities change and you become lighter. So we're dealing with real physics that can actually be measured. And as you move into these higher vibrations or even into higher elevations, you feel different.
Interesting. I did get I have a late question here. Back when you were talking about when you were younger, CZG, I hope that's the way you pronounce it, CZG, in the Strange Chat Discord channel, wanted to know if you ever had high fevers, unconscious episodes, or bad falls when you were young.
And I didn't have unconscious episodes. No, I did have quite a few high fevers all the time because I had chronic strep throat, and I did have some pretty gnarly falls. I was riding horses since too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I know you're a horse rider, and also the Night Stalker, as in night stalking stuff. He wants to know: is there a reason that there are specifically 13 tribes having a bunch of 13 syncs this year? I believe he means 13 sync rows, and that's why I'm bringing that question up right now.
Wow, you know what? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to try to like fake an answer.
That's all right.
I don't know. I feel like there's so much out there to know, and I'm really immersed in the Karo tradition right now. I do have on my wall the 6 codex of the new Mayan calendar by the 6 tribes, but I'm not sure about the synchros. I'm not totally sure about what he's asking.
I know that 13.
Or I can't answer it.
No, that's fine. I do know that 13 is an esoteric or geometric number, and so it's possible that has something to do with it. Also, CCG does bring in the fact that 13 equals 4 2020, and we are in 2020, so that's interesting. So yeah, I mean, a lot of these things are esoteric, and I feel that it's probably something to do with the number 13, with the synchronicities with you and your experiences with the how do you pronounce that? Karo? Karo. Okay, I didn't butcher it earlier. Thank God.
Not at all. Well, is what I can say to that is there's a lot of different. There's massive amounts of information about the ancient crystal skulls. And one of the things that I have a discrepancy with, I can't prove or disprove, but one of the things I have a discrepancy with is there's a lot of people saying that there's, including Indiana Jones, that there's 13 ancient crystal skulls. And that there's 13, and when the 13 come together, that's when a big ascension is going to happen. In my experience and what I've heard, there's 13 tribes of 13. There's 13 different, or groups, 13 different groups of ancient crystal skulls. So the one that I was gifted the opportunity to channel was the only existing group of ancient crystal skulls that we know of still in existence on the planet. And that was the Dolphin clan. So there was Madre the mother, Magnus the father, and then 11 smaller skulls that we would all channel. Now, according to the people that I sit with, the elders that I sit with, the other clans of 13 had been destroyed or they've been dispersed and we cannot get them all together. So there's only maybe like one from that tribe, you know, like you've got Czar, the ET skull. I don't know where the other 12 are. You've got the Mitchell Hedges skull. Are there another 12 that belong to that? We don't know.
Gotcha. So all this is. Oh, go ahead, please.
So there's a lot of. It's really hard to get accurate information because it's storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
It's storytelling. Like, even I was doing some research on the Quechua language, which is what the Karo speak, and I've sat with the Karo for years. And Pachamama is earth. Pacha is form. Mama is our mother earth. And I just found this totally legitimate website where they're like, Pachamama is the earth warrior. And it's like, wow, that's totally different. Right? So things really get lost in translation, but Westerners get really hung up about finding that absolute truth. And it's pretty convoluted. It can consume you.
Interesting. Also, I see in the chat that Caesar G mentions that there really is 13 zodiac signs, in her opinion. And I believe I heard something about that too. 13, again, you know, like the number 9, like the number 7, like the number 3, esoteric, geometric, even some would say holy numbers. So all interesting stuff.
Yeah, there are 13 zodiac signs. Didn't they just come across that a couple years ago?
I want to say, yeah. I've known it for a couple of years, so yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, me too. You know, I think the Zodiac's a program. I don't even follow it. To be honest, like,
that's
I think
interesting. That's a good
yeah, I know people are always like, oh, I'm a Sagittarius, I'm this, I'm that. And I'm like, you know, that's a program.
Well, I heard you just mention something about holographic world. Are you also in the conclusion that we are living in a simulation?
I think we create our own simulation.
Oh, okay.
I think we are the creators of our own simulation.
Right.
I mean, I have literally been in the same place at the same time with other people who have reported back having a completely different experience. Completely different experience. Mm-hmm. They didn't even see what I saw. So I think we're our own creators simulating our own world. And I know, like, and just even with the Gematria and the Mercury in retrograde, I'm like, really? That's a program. Like, you're being told what's supposed to happen or not happen or how you're supposed to be. To me, that's giving up your power. And a lot of people don't like that, but I just made someone really mad the other day. I said, I don't answer to anybody. Like, I don't want to give my power away. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I want to be totally respectful and compassionate at all times, but I am not going to let the daily astrology report dictate my day.
That's true. That is true. I do feel that, like, you know, the whole thing where they describe a person's astrological sign, like, you know, people talk about, like, Leo, for instance. I'm born in August. I fall under Leo. And, you know, there's a lot of personalities that or traits or whatever that they talk about Leo, I don't really see it. Then again, Deb will come up to me and say, "Oh yeah, you're a total Leo." So then it blows everything out that I've been thinking like, "Oh well, I guess I am." So I don't know. I think it's all perception.
Well, you know what? I do too. And in fact, I do too. And it's funny because sometimes people will be like, "Oh, you're such a Gemini," you know, or, you know, I had a reading done by Laura Eisenhower years ago, and she pulls up my chart. And I didn't know what I was going in for. I had no idea. If I knew she was going to do my astrology report, I wouldn't have gone. And so she pulls up my report and I'm like, oh God, here we go again. Right. And she's like, da, 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 da. And then all of a sudden she's like, you have a problem with authority, don't you? And I was like, she is so spot on. Right. So there is truth to astrology. I mean, we've used it for years, you know, the Mayan calendar, the Aztec calendar, the pyramids, Giza, we've used it for years. And it is something to go by. In fact, I've actually pulled up the Mayan astrology for today. So it's something to go by, but I don't want to be boxed in by it.
Sure.
Would you like to hear what today represents? According to the Mayan. Okay, so when we spoke earlier on the phone, you're like, I'm good, but the world's in chaos. And I'm like, you know what? Let's see what's going on today. So how the Mayan calendar works is you've got a past for today, a present for today, and a future for today. So it was really interesting because the past and the present were, I had to check it 3 times. I'm like, what is going on? It's identical. So Kami Simi is a crystal skull that that my friend who's a Guatemalan timekeeper carries. He carries Kami Simi, and I've sat with Kami Simi over the years, and I've seen her crystalline structure actually change over time. So Kami Simi is in the center of the past and the present. And then we've got obsidian, which is all about protection. We've got the adapter, which is all about adapting. Then we have the jaguar, which is about mulching that heavy energy. And we have ebb, the road. So it's like, how I see that is like, we're not really changing because we need this protection, and we're adapting into having protection instead of transformation. And we're at a crossroads. And are we going to stay the same, or are we going to change the pattern? So when we move into the future of today, we've got the serpent in the middle. We've got Kami Simi, joy, which is Kia Mak'ul, joy, Lamakwanil, which is a star seed, and Manikej, which is the deer. So the serpent allows us to shed our skin. So what this tells me is that the protection that we've adapted to in the past, we're now at that crossroad. We've taken that path. We're ready to shed that old story, moving into joy, moving into the star seed, which means we're connecting with our star lineage. And then we've got the deer, who's showing us to walk really softly, right? To nurture ourselves, to heal ourselves. But the shadow aspect of the deer can also be like being a doormat, being complacent. So today was a very interesting day.
It was. It really was. I actually got to meet up with some of my old friends. I think I mentioned that to you, and I think that's important because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, I've already had 3 people in my family pass away earlier. Not only at the end of the year last year, but earlier. I think it was late January, and it just seems like it's this time of year where everyone starts to basically they're on their way out the door. And or it could just be observation as well. but I just feel that sometimes it's around this time of year and earlier where people just start to, make that transition. And matter of fact, my next door neighbor's husband just passed away. So it just seems like it's always around us. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we can get into that later. It's not, like, again, I don't know why I keep going dark. What's wrong with me, Holly?
Well, I'm a shadow worker, right?
Man, I'm not sure what's going on. But no, seriously, I've just been noticing that. But today was weird because I woke up and I almost felt like I was in a different reality. I kept on hearing like this really loud rush, at my window. And it almost sounded like it was a very loud machine or like a vacuum cleaner outside. And when I went to to the front and I looked on the porch, there was branches and everything in my yard, out in the street, and it was just blowing. Wind was just, I think it's like 50 to 70 miles per hour, which is pretty crazy, right? And and it was just nuts today. And PG&E, and then my power was flickering on and off, along with my, with my internet connection. I'm really glad that it's been stable, so far, knock on wood. But yeah, it's just been one of those crazy days today, and I think that our planet is going through some kind of phase, some kind of transition as well, if you will. What do you think about that?
Well, the Schumann resonance which I'm sure everybody listening is familiar with, the Schumann resonance has really been at an all-time high, and is how it was explained by somebody that made a lot of sense was that Earth is spinning faster and faster, so the lower density energies have to come up to be cleared, right? And so we are literally moving into a different reality. It is happening all around us. You see it on the political scale. You see it worldwide. You see it everywhere. We are literally in a change. 2 years ago, when I sat with the Hopi, they're like, "Welcome to the sixth extinction." It's like, oh my gosh, right? But how do we embrace that change? How do we allow ourselves to move in to, just like today says, serpents in the middle, shedding our past stories and moving into joy. We're just in meat suits. We're an infinite consciousness, right? In fact, the Schumann resonance right now is at 56. Instead of 7.83, it's at 56. So that's why everything's getting so crazy. And you'll see things happening, and then they'll just like change just at the drop of a hat. Like I just saw that the coronavirus has more deaths than SARS, but they're stopping the spread. And it's like, well, how did we affect that on a collective level, right? I know looking back, SARS scared me, but the coronavirus, I'm like, whatever, right? Like I've heard the story too many times. So did we affect it by not paying close attention to it? I don't know. It's just a theory. But I literally think that we're at a point right now where we can change pretty quickly. And the wind comes in to bring teachings, to bring messages. The wind comes in to like create chaos, right? And then how are you going to restructure after that?
I think that's awesome. It's funny because I'm just now realizing when we have our discussions, I almost feel like maybe perhaps your past life was in some sort of Native American tribe. I don't know why I just got that for some reason. It just I just got that image in my head, and I started feeling that.
I actually had a reading where I was at Machu Picchu.
No way.
Yeah. But it's not that glorious. I was a little kid, and a elder grandmother like beat me to death with a rock.
Oh God.
I just started. Yeah, it wasn't very glorious.
What a way to go out.
Yeah, and then I had this other Yeah, I've had a few like tribal past lives, but I can't say any of them have been like groundbreaking, like, wow, I was this big priestess. Like they weren't quite that exciting.
Well, that's amazing that you can actually remember them at all, because for me, I can't remember anything I was besides this time period. I feel like almost like this is where I begin and then I start moving along, if that makes any sense. I start remembering what I am or what I will be.
Well, I mean, that's the beauty of having a facilitator. It's dropping somebody into that altered state. William Brown, he's a biophysicist for Nassim Haramein.
Okay.
And I heard him talk at Contact in the Desert, years ago, maybe even when we met. I've been so many times it all blurs, but he literally talked about how we're going into a cellular wormhole. And that's when we can tap in, and don't quote me because this was a while ago. I'm just trying to relay the concept. We're going into a cellular wormhole into a past memory. Right? And so we're just tapping in to a past memory that we've had, but then you have to think about it. Maybe there is no past. Maybe we're just tapping into a parallel universe and everything's happening at once. Just like Monsanto killing everything. And that's exactly what the white race in Atlanta did. They covered everything in like that hard white stuff. I don't remember it's like hard white snow was the translation. And they started doing trees that didn't flower, and they became superior to everybody else. And it's like, well, we're doing the same thing. We're creating plants that don't reproduce, right? Is the past just trying to tell us what we need to change in the present? Are we really just living in a present parallel universes, or is it really the past? I don't know. When you get into the shamanic journeying, it's crazy because you can jump into the future and pull up the past, which is
cool.
Pretty fun.
Yeah, that is really cool. And I'm starting to believe that time isn't linear. It was often thought of like the way we were taught in school and different books, and I don't know. It's almost like you have to go outside the box, if you will, to learn about that there's different aspects or different teachings, if you will, about what we know. It's you do have to go to the fringe to find these things out. If you're going to learn anything, But yeah, I don't believe that that time is linear. I actually feel that there is a way to go back in time, not the conventional way, like through a time machine or anything like that, but through consciousness. That's just my thought.
No, I'm right there with you. I totally believe that too. Now, I do want to say that I'm a little biased towards my training. I felt like it was very comprehensive. And I've also gone through the medicine wheel many, many times. I am still on my path. I still have so much to learn. But something that has really struck me is when you go into the past, you can retrieve this information, but if you don't break that contract or transmute that energy, it's like opening up an old wound without cleaning it out, without letting it heal. And so I'll get calls, not often, but over the past, since I've started doing this, I'll get calls. I'm not going to say they're super rare, but they're not. I've had a few where people have had past life readings or, a bad tarot reading or some sort of reading with no clearing, and they're a mess. And then they have to get a session to to clear all that energy and transmute it. So when you're going into a past life, if it's not a past life for the highest good, or when you did the best work, when you're going into a past life that has trauma, you have to clear that trauma. Like, period. You've got to clear that trauma. You've got to rewrite the contract, and that contract will follow you. It's a trip, because every time, when I take a client, excuse me, through this process,
Sure.
It's like you can literally see how the past is playing in their present. You break the contract, excuse me, you break the contract, and then, a couple months later, that same issue is no longer coming up. But you have to break that contract and clear that energy. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing with doing the ancestral clearings, right? Like, we're literally carrying our ancestors' trauma through our RNA, which is our DNA. So you got to go back, visit the ancestors, and so somebody has heart disease.
Right.
You have to go back and find the ancestor who had the broken heart.
Okay.
Right? Because the hereditary disease has an emotional root.
All these illnesses, it's related to an emotional trigger. Is that what you're saying?
98% of the time.
Really?
Yeah. So when people come in and they're like, oh yeah, I have hereditary heart disease, I'm like, great, let's go visit the ancestors. And the ancestors will come forward and we'll find where the heart was broken. Right?
That's amazing.
The heart was broken, or where addiction came in, like what drove them to drink, what trauma were they suppressing, or what trauma were they trying to nullify, and so forth. It just goes on with depression, right? And we'll go back to the ancestor who held the depression because of whatever circumstances, and it's really interesting when I work with the LGBTQ community. It's like every single one of them. When we go back to the ancestors, their ancestors held that secret that they were, homosexual or bisexual or whatever, and they couldn't express it. So that guilt ripples right up into the current person's life. And they're carrying around shame or guilt. And I'm not talking about everybody that's LGBTQ. I'm just talking about the ones I've worked with, right, that are seeking out. They're carrying this shame and this trauma and this secrecy from their ancestors. It's not theirs.
Interesting.
Right? And so that's the magic, is to rework the DNA, because DNA is holographic, right? Like, it's so trippy. I'll work on someone's trauma with their mother, and their sister will get the effect because it ripples out holographically. And there's these scientists in Russia who discovered this. David Wilcock talked about it at Contact in the Desert, where you take a test tube with seawater or saline water with DNA in it, and then you take another test tube without the DNA in it, and it will holographically project the DNA into the test tube without the DNA.
Oh wow, that's insane.
So it's just science, and it's so cool because most of the people coming to me for work, the shamanic work, are like psychologists and college students. Man, I just got a bunch of college students. I was like, oh, that's weird. And they're all like, yeah, they're all, they're all doing like medical stuff, right? They're going to college for, one wants to be a cardiopulmonary something. I don't even know what it was. I was just like, oh, that's great. Like, I can't have a conversation with you about that because I don't even know what you're talking about, right? Like, whoo. And they're coming for this work because they're getting that these other modalities aren't working. And I'm talking about traditional modalities like the antidepressants, the traditional counseling, and the traditional therapy. You know, like when you go talk to a mental health therapist, you're getting years of talking when you could just get right to the root through a hypnotic state.
You know,
And change it.
and that's something that we're going to get into in the next hour, because I definitely want to. Let's pause here for a second, and then when we come back, I want to learn more about the hypnosis regression that you do, Holly. And I think it's important because people don't realize that there's so much stuff that we carry, and we got to go backwards. And to do that, sometimes we have to go under a different state. You're listening to Beyond the Strange. I'm your host, Dave Cruz. We are speaking with Shamanic healer Holly Marie, practitioner, and we'll be right back right after this. Don't go away.
Is out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTOK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Hey, this is Deb, and you're listening to Dave Cruz on Beyond the Strange Radio.
I warn you, this could scare you, as the sound bothers me to listen to. It has always haunted me. What you're about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
I've seen the Martians feed.
What in heaven's name is it?
I don't know.
Have you ever looked skyward and pondered UFOs, aliens, time travel, alternate universes, and parallel dimensions? Want to explore paranormal activities, ghost hauntings, various cryptoids, such as Bigfoot, sea and lake monsters? Greetings, Beyonders. I'm author Casper Parks, and you are listening to Beyond the Strange with host Dave Cruz. Help spread the word by posting links in forums and social media. Available at Speaker.com, YouTube, and Google Hangouts.
Tea is the #1 cleansing tea in America. We cleanse you with organic ingredients, and when used daily, you can increase your energy. Cleanse from intruders that set up camp in your colon. Cleanse your colon and feel the difference. Colon cleanses can be uncomfortable. Not Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com. Life Change Tea is mild yet truly effective. Cleanse your insides every day. Easy to make, easy to use, and feel the results. Are you sold? Okay, then here's how to order. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Look for our specials on the front page. Get the Tea also carries top-rated supplements for those who care about their health, naturally. Again, log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com and feel the results. And for those of you that arm yourself with information, come to our webinar every other Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. That's every other Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific. You can sign up at GetTheTea.com.
Hey there, this is Ryan Gable of the Secret Teachings radio broadcast, and you are listening to the inquisitive Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange on the Fringe FM.
All right, everyone, welcome back. This is Beyond the Strange. I'm your host, Dave Cruz. Thank you all for being here tonight. Been a fascinating evening so far. We are speaking with Holly Marie. She's a practicing hypnotherapist and shamanic practitioner. And we've just been having a blast going through all these different techniques and practices and learning all about this. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Again, you can follow or you can find Holly at www.earthsonghealings.com to learn more. And I just want to welcome again Holly Marie back to the show. Thanks for being with us tonight, Holly. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's how fun. Like, thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, we were talking about this earlier, that last year you had like a breakthrough year. Like you've got some stuff done that perhaps you didn't experience before. So we can definitely talk about that.
Yeah, so you're talking about the entities, right?
Yes.
Okay, so in the shamanic realm, whatever, we do entity extraction, and I've done some pretty big ones in the past, and I've also removed a lot of people who just needed to cross over and they're just making a little bit of noise because they're stuck. But last year I had some really big cases. The biggest one was about a living woman. She's still alive, coming through the astral plane from the East Coast, attacking my client on the West Coast. So we're dealing, you can't make this up. We're dealing with a living person that's being possessed by her great-grandfather to come through the astral plane at night, wreaking havoc on my client on the West Coast. This has been going on for 8 years. And like I said, we create our own perception, right? Our own simulated reality.
Right.
When I was on the phone with this woman before I booked the appointment, I swear, like, I would bet money on this. I thought she said this entity is harming my animals. And I'm like, that's no big deal. That's easy, whatever. When I got her in session, and this was all remote, like I never saw her in person. When I got her in session, she said that this entity had killed 2 of her cats and her pet rabbit. And this is a very well-educated woman. Like, they wanted her on like a city board. She's got a publishing company. She's very educated. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. This entity is actually like killing things, like sacrificing these animals. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Anyway, we were able to clear it. And like I said, she couldn't find anybody who would clear this for 8 years. And this happened in October or November. That entity is still clear. It is still clear. And it has been really amazing because she can sleep better now. Like, her family's not being terrorized. And it's really important to get these yucky parasites off of you. Mm-hmm. And then another one was a call from Texas, and poltergeist activity in this huge house, right? Poltergeist activity, which I had a huge poltergeist case in Seattle too, but this one literally went in and like pinched the lady, shocked her, and screamed at her, right? Ooh. And the whole house would smell like death. And we got it to clear. You know, it's a team effort, but we got it clear. It's still cleared. It's been great. And the sad thing is that you know, I want to keep their privacy, but I worked on, instead of the lady that got attacked, I worked on another one of her family members to clear it.
Okay.
Then the lady who got attacked had a session with me, and she had known about me for years, but she just hadn't made the move. And after her session, she said, it's really sad. I had no idea I was walking around with so much heaviness. And when I removed the entity from the other family member, this woman also told me, well, I removed a few entities. There were 3 that I had to cross over. This woman told me, she said, after you removed my great-grandfather from this other family member, my suicidal thoughts stopped.
Oh, boy.
The grandfather or the great-grandfather had committed suicide. Ever since he did that, he latched on to this family, and the mother of this household was having suicidal thoughts for 3 years. So when I worked on the other family member and crossed over, this is where the work's validated, like, oh, okay, this is for real. When I crossed over the great-grandfather from the other family member, the mom's suicidal thoughts stopped.
Wow.
And that's really important, because so many of our family members stick to us. And they're not doing it to be evil. They're not doing it to be malicious. They're doing it because they're stuck and they need help crossing over. But it sucks out our life force energy. So it's been really cool. Like it's been really rewarding to help people make these transitions, who, you know, help the dead make these transitions and alleviate their family members. But to me, it goes a little bit deeper, because some of the people that I work with the ancestral clearings and the entity clearings, it's helping them get off their medication.
Oh,
it's helping
nice.
them get off anti-anxiety, anti-depression. And I am not a fan of the pharmaceuticals.
Oh, no.
I am not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of any of the mainstream. Like, I heard you talking about the Grammys before I got on, and I listened to your interview with Dr. Heather.
Oh,
I'm not going to. Yes, Dr. Heather Lynn, about, you know, how all the evil's making a comeback, and how, like, the sigils and some of the movies are straight out of textbooks, right? Like, all of that is programming our subconscious. Then you have an entity on top of that's giving us suicidal thoughts or whatever. And then pretty soon we're like reaching for the pill bottle because we don't know what else to do.
Well, you know, the other thing too is, like, let's take the movie Joker, for instance. I did go and see the movie with my family, and it was not what I was expecting. I did hear about, you know, there was some violence in it and this and that. But then when we watched the movie, I'm like, what a terrible mistake. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a bad movie, but I think a person needs to go in and watch this movie with some sort of discernment. I don't know. That's the only way I can, you know, put it. And it's, you know, he's probably going to get Best Actor for his portrayal. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, it was a bad thing that Joaquin Phoenix portrayed someone with a mental illness and took it to another level, to where, you know, he just became a maniacal sociopath. That's the only way I can put it. But that is who the Joker is in the comics, right? Now, the problem is that people are watching this, at this level. And like you were saying, it almost becomes like a tulpa where the energy people put into believing this or seeing this, it gets into their consciousness, and then it starts to manifest. And I kid you not, Holly, right after this movie, some of the protests, I can't remember exactly where it was at. I believe it was a Middle Eastern country. People were painting their faces with the Joker character's makeup. And it was, so it was starting to take off, and it gave me chills because this again, we're living. I believe we're living in some other different reality sometimes, some other dimension. I talked about it earlier that I feel that after 2012, things just didn't add up anymore, and again, that's for another show and another time, but. What do we do? I mean, how can we protect ourselves from falling into this trap with Holly Weird and not start to believe in this kind of stuff? I mean, I'm almost at a loss for words.
Well, it's you're being put under a state of hypnosis now. Is what's interesting. Is the what is the calendar we follow? Gregorian calendar?
Gregorian.
Yes. That's about 8 years off. So we're just stepping into 2012 now.
Interesting.
It is about 8 years off.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And so now we're really going to start seeing the changes, especially with the Schumann resonance. And we are under a state of hypnosis so often. Even when you walk into a doctor's office, they're like, hey, you got 6 months to live. You're under a state of hypnosis because you're under emotional stress. And every time you're in emotional stress, you're in a state of hypnosis. Or if you're put into a deep state of relaxation, you're put into a state of hypnosis. So the pleasure part of our brain is right next to our excitable part of our brain. And that's why these violent movies and porn and everything becomes so addictive.
Mm-hmm.
And, because I think we had a conversation when the Walking Dead came out and how traumatizing that was.
Yes.
That's right. So I don't even watch that. So I really think that people need to unplug from the screen. They need to not even pay attention to Holly Weird, right? Because it's all done by the elites, like the Illuminati. We know this, but then we feed it. Mm-hmm. And so for me, how I don't even know what movie's playing. I don't even care. You know me, I'm a snowboarder. And
yeah. That's a great thing.
See, it's exciting. I get the adrenaline. I get the pleasure. And I am one of the fastest. I'm 47, and I'm sorry, but I'm one of the fastest women on the mountain.
There you go.
I keep up with the guys. All the guys that I ride with, they're ahead of me, but I'm bringing up the pack. They're not at the lift line waiting for me for a minute or two. I'm right there. That's exciting. That is way more exciting than sitting in a chair with 50 other people eating disgusting theater popcorn that's going to give you fake butter lung cancer, right?
Oh, God.
When you could be out on the mountain, completely just bombing down a run. And that's exciting. And it's challenging, right? And then in the summertime, I'm going to paddleboard and, all kinds of stuff. And is what that also does is it keeps you fit. It keeps your good endorphins rolling. It's a stress relief or it's stress release. And that's what we're not doing. So you go and you watch the Joker and then you don't move. You don't move that chi and that prana and it just festers. You're right. It manifests. And who wants that, right?
No, absolutely. Any activity, I believe, and I'm guilty of this, I definitely need to get out more, grab the family, go for a walk, Just some kind of activity that's not just sitting in the house. But here's the other thing too. We're put in a situation. This is what we're brought up to believe in from day one when we go to school. And, by the time we leave school is, unless you've won the lottery or you're very wealthy and your family's wealthy, you're going to be working the rest of your life. So you're going to have to go to school, get that degree, get a job, get a car, whatever, move out, and by that time you're already under stress. You're already starting to feel like, you can't do anything but, get up and go to work and start the cycle all over again. And there's, really no time to do all these things that you're talking about. And that's a terrible thing. If I would have known now, back then what I know now, I wouldn't be in that cycle. And I'm still trying to find ways to where I'm not stuck in the rat race, because it's horrible. I didn't come to this planet to just, wake up, go to work, and die.
You get cancer before you die.
Well, and that too.
And that's the program.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I just asked my 11-year-old the other day, who I just started homeschooling. I said, I asked him.
Very good, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I think we're still in the deschooling process, but we're getting there.
There you go.
I asked him, I said, Phoenix, if you never heard the word cancer, would you get cancer? He said no. And something that I did with my clients in California, I'm in Oregon now, but a lot of moms came to me in California, and we all lived in obviously the same place, and we all go to Costco because we have families, right? And I would tell my clients, I said, the next time you go to Costco, because it's a ways down, like 10, 12 miles, I want you to count the billboards and the billboards on the bus, or the bus advertisements, of how much programming is telling you, or how much programming there is to be sick, to go to the doctor, to have a cancer option.
Yes.
Right? And it's
exactly.
Total. We're not supposed to be sick. Like, we're not supposed to be sick. And a lot of it is our food and chemtrails, and vaccines. Like, that's a whole nother thing. Yes, we're biological, and that's going to do a factor, but our mind is what really roots that in, that negative density that we believe. And I'm trying to break the program every single day. I don't want to be in a rat race. Like, I do not want to be in a rat race. I use my private practice, but I do the best that I can to not be a slave to the system.
Yes.
And we all have to do that, because we were supposed to come here to thrive. Like, this is the Garden of Eden. We need to bring heaven to earth, not look for some fifth dimensional planet that we're all going to escape to and it's going to be great. No, we have to do the groundwork here and transform this into that 5D planet.
That's right.
And people don't, I have a different spin on things. Like, people don't want to do the shadow work. They don't want to dive thick and deep into the trauma, right? It's awful. Like, a lot of times I'm working with my clients and they're in tears, and it's awful, but they feel so much better after. And if we don't purge that out, it's suppressed in us, but it's still going to manifest. It will still manifest into some sort of ailment. And this is so true. And you can trace this back to like the old teachings, right? This is what they thought. The natives, the indigenous people, they knew how all of this worked, the power of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when we get into like the rainbow body, it's like we're literally, when you're in your rainbow body, or like a monk who can actually levitate, well, that the reason is because they're only thinking about unconditional love. unconditional love is a 0 point, right? There's no lower densities like the fear, the depression, the anger, or the sadness. That's not there. So we're totally rooting ourselves in this society that keeps feeding us poison.
Yeah, and I just saw Night Stalker just put in a pic in the Strange Chat on Discord, and it's like a scene from They Live, where when you put the glasses on, you see what they're really trying to tell you. Like in this picture, it says obey, consume, but when you take the shades off or the glasses off, it's just a normal advertisement of detergent or something like that. But that's
right.
what those are the real things that they're trying to get us to do, and they're doing it by covering it up with something else. And the only way you can see it is by putting these glasses on. And you've seen the movie. I don't have to tell you. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can take away from They Live. And I think that's one of them. Really quick, I just want to go back. Lisa Allen in the chat. She asked me if what was the source on the Gregorian calendar that you had brought up.
Oh boy, now I got to rat somebody out. I had heard that from the past, but the most recent that I heard it from was James Gilliland of ECETI Ranch.
Okay.
So I heard it from an unknown source, like I don't remember. And then just recently, James Gilliland said we're like 8 years off. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. I've heard that before.
Yeah. Yeah, I have heard that before. That's, you're not the only one. So there you go to answer your question, Lisa Allen. Thank you for asking that. And I want to take regression hypnosis in a different direction, because a lot of this program deals with I talk about UFOs and ET contact and that sort of thing. And one of the things that kind of blew me away when I was at Contact in the Desert was I met up with some people. And when I was basically giving these people a ride home. It was late in the morning. It was probably about 1:00, and where they were staying at, they were just not even 10 minutes away. So it was like really like a 2-minute drive, and we dropped them off, and I'm not kidding. It was like we were talking for 10 minutes, but then when we got home and realized where we were staying at, it had been like 2 to 3 hours we were gone. Mm-hmm. So that was basically missing time.
Yes.
And so my thing is, and in that conversation, it was brought up that these people were actually contactees, and that they stayed in contact with these extraterrestrials. Quite possibly, I have been taken, and brought back. Now, I've seen some of the hypnotic regression where people remember, and it's a horrific experience.
Right.
How do I, know the truth, learn the truth without remembering all of the pain and suffering, or is that part of the process?
Hold on.
I'm just saying, if they did do anything to me, it's like I really don't want to remember that. But if I want to know the truth, how do I do this?
I hope you don't mind that I just did this, but I just pendulum tested it, and it was a benign. You were taken. It was benign. Like there was no trauma, pain. It was all in good. So knowing that, and I'm fairly accurate with a pendulum. Like I use it all the time with my clients. I'm very accurate with it. So I'm getting that it was positive. There was no pain and trauma. So if you did go into a regression, it's going to be all positive.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good to know.
Yes. Yes, so there's nothing to fear. With other people who have these less favorable abductions, yeah, it's not easy. I mean, they've been really traumatized by it. I don't work with that so much. I work more with the emotional body and the past lives, but there have been times when we've been on a spaceship or in a UFO or on a different planet, right? And most of what I've done has been more positive, except for the emotional trauma that's been in a past life or in the present life. So I leave, if someone's really got an issue with UFOs, I send them to Lori McDonald.
Oh yeah.
I just go see Lori, because it's not my specialty, and I hate to say it, it's not my main interest. Like, I can call them in, they'll come in. Like, we get so many sightings in Oregon. In fact, we came home a couple months ago, and I got out of the car and I looked out at the night sky, like right out of the garage, and there was this ginormous light, and it was huge light in the sky. And then there was a little light right next to it. And I was like, oh, that's a big planet, and there's a UFO next to it. No, it was the gigantic light that was the UFO, and Mark and Phoenix both saw it, and we watched it go all the way down and disappear.
That's fantastic.
I think it was going to east. And then another time, the one day in fourth grade that I didn't take my son to school because I was too tired, Mark, my husband, took Phoenix to school, and they come around the bridge. It's really narrow. Like, you got to cross this little like alley thing and get onto the bridge over the river. And Phoenix looks up and he's like, Dad, there's a 747 with no wings. And there were other people parked looking up. So they saw a cigar, or my son saw a cigar ship. They're everywhere here. But it's always really positive on my end. And then I go up to East Ranch all the time, and it's just like the night sky is just, oh my gosh, they just keep coming.
I need to go there. I've been up in Oregon like 3 or 4 times already this past year, and I haven't had a chance to go by there.
You know what? You should try to come to the 4th of July event.
I'm going to do that.
Do it. Please do it. I have a client coming from New York. I have a client coming from Minnesota. I have one coming from here. I'll be there. And then on the 5th through the 9th, I think, I'm doing a retreat in August up there with my friend who's a yoga master out of Santa Barbara, Marie Thorne Thompson, and she calls in the Pleiadian ships all the time. And we're going to do a retreat up there in August.
Cool.
So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about that. Now, there is what's really special. I don't want to veer off, so I'll be quick. But
no, that's okay.
Really special about East Ranch is it's on a vortex.
Oh,
so
sweet.
The veils are super thin, like you're literally on a vortex. So that's why there's sightings of Bigfoot and fairies and all these interdimensional elements is because you're in this weird energy flux.
I believe that. Because I feel like I've experienced it, and yeah, I'll talk about that another time. But yeah, I totally believe that.
Yeah, it's a very special place.
Now, have you encountered fairies or had any communication with them?
No, of course not. My son's seen them. No.
You make it sound like you're disappointed.
I am. Like, everyone else is having these, and I go up to ECETI all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was literally at ECETI last Monday. It's not even open. I don't get nothing, man. And it's so funny. Like, the most I've ever heard is the bathrooms are outside. Mm-hmm. And I was going to the bathroom at like 3 a.m, and I heard a Bigfoot out in the field, because they kind of go, ooh, 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 right? I heard that, and I was just like, oh, dude, stay in the field. Like, don't show yourself till after I use the restroom because just
Exactly.
you're freaking me out. So I haven't.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah, Bigfoot, man. There's so much with Bigfoot. Sasquatch, you know, is he interdimensional? Is he, you know, an extraterrestrial? You know, what it's so much. And I've just started, you know, I've covered Bigfoot a few times on my program.
Yeah.
But to actually go out and, you know, do an investigation with some friends of mine and come back with some interesting results, that definitely makes me like, there's no question. There's just no question. He's out there, and there's, you know, there's just so much we can learn from it. And I'm excited. I'm excited to give my presentation. So it'll be really cool.
I can't wait.
Yeah, and this, you know, this is in the Grants Pass area. Are you familiar with Merlin, Oregon?
No.
Okay, that's like by Grants Pass.
Okay.
And it's heavily wooded there. I mean, Oregon's, of course, it's just like something like a big giant, you know, forest, and someone just puts like a, you know, couple of cities in there. But I mean, literally. But no, Merlin is just like, you know, if you veer off the road, you're dead. I'm serious. You're dropping to your death. It's crazy. But it was awesome. It really was. And I like I said, it was quite the experience. But, you know, you mentioned vortex, and is that something that you've you know, experienced with, have experience with vortexes?
Yeah. Okay. So definitely on the ranch. Let me backtrack. I have seen Bigfoot's footprint. I've seen that real.
Okay.
I have seen that. Absolutely. Yeah. I've seen that for real. In the vortex, me, or a lot of people that go up to ESETI, when they're there for 3 days, all of their trauma starts to come up. It's horrible. So I used to have total meltdowns, but now I'm okay. I believe the shamanic work is like a vortex, because a lot of times my clients will be like, you know, like, what time do you think it is? And they'll be like, oh, I've only half hour has gone by, and it's been 2.5, 3 hours that we're in a journey. So whatever's taking place, it's totally bypassing our conscious time and logic, and it's moving us into some other time and space. Or I guess there's no time and space. It's moving us into this complete flux. And to me, that's a vortex, because that's when we can tap in to the past or the future and either pull in our destiny or like help heal the past.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. And also wanted to ask you about your pendulum work. You know, that goes in hand with what you're doing. Have you ever used any kind of a Ouija board or something like that?
I dabbled with a Ouija board when I was younger. Mm-hmm. It was quite accurate.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was totally accurate.
That's interesting.
Yes. So I probably wouldn't play with one now. You know, I didn't know when I was younger, but it was incredibly accurate. And we called in, you know, rather benign spirits, you know, and we're just having fun. But I know those things can be trouble. They can open up nasty portals. And that's what you want to be really careful with when you're doing this work, because you can open up so many different portals, and you have to stay really focused, and you have to really, like for me, when I have a client, I interview them for an hour, and then I just mirror back to them, because, you know, what they told me, and then I just sort of guide them to maybe go a little deeper on how they felt, or, you know, even with a past life, I'll pretty much take them through a certain journey so they're finding everything. And it's really important that the client does their own work.
Right.
Because that's empowering. Otherwise, they're just a cash cow, right? It's, you want to give them the empowerment, the healing, and the tools so they can get on with their life, not keep sucking them back in. And so it's super important that I really reflect back to them what they've told me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't mess with any of that stuff. I'm not saying I wouldn't. I just haven't. And I don't feel like I need to. So therefore
Right.
I don't. And I leave it to people who know what they're doing, you know, if that's even a way to, you know, to say that. But yeah, it's something that I've never really dabbled with either. But the pendulum seems like it's a very interesting tool.
So I think I veered off with that weird question, or
That's okay.
I think I gave you a weird answer. But so
that was a weird question too.
I do use the pendulum for yes and no's, or like if an item gets lost, you know what I mean? So I use it for basic stuff. I use it on a client in person or remotely, and I use the pendulum to test their chakras. And when there's a story or dense energy in that chakra, the pendulum will kick back counterclockwise. And so when someone's telling me a story about their husband is making them feel abandoned or whatever, and I'm going down their chakra system and I'm like, you know, what happened between 1 and 7, because it's in their root, that made you feel abandoned? Oh, my dad, because it's never about what they think it is. It always goes deeper. So my pendulum work, along with, like, for using the chakra system as a timeline, is I really count on that. Mm-hmm. And when I'm working remotely, I just lay out the stones, because I carry a mesa, which is a very sacred medicine bundle that we create through the medicine wheel. It's got 13 stones. They're all programmed with something. There we go, 13. And so I definitely use the pendulum to move up the chakra system with that. And remotely, I'll lay out the stones, and it will still catch when I'm on the phone with somebody. And it's like, boom, okay, second chakra, what happened between 8 and 15, right? Because in my tradition, they're developed. We have them, but they're fully developed every 7 years. And so it's not 100% accurate, but it is a huge tool to get right back into that story. And it's the weirdest thing, because you are opening up a vortex, and that memory will just surface. And all the time, I have people go, oh, I never thought of this before. Or, you know, this happened and I've never talked about it. So we get these little tiny things that happen to us, or big things, and they just continue to manifest through our life, and we can't trace it back. And, you know, until you find a facilitator or a hypnotist or somebody who can help you get into that regress state, a higher brainwave like the theta state, and then move back and let that memory surface.
Awesome. And I want to throw a kind of an off question, but I heard you talk about it earlier in the program. You mentioned contracts. Now, here's an interesting question. I don't know if anyone's ever brought this up to you or not, but is it possible to enter a contract and not know it?
Absolutely. Yes. I'm so glad that you...
Or accidentally, I should say.
You know what? I am so glad that you brought this question up, because all of the past life contracts are all done unintentionally. Is what happens, and I'm just speaking from my tradition, is what happens is, you know, you're a slave and they kill you, or, you know, or you're a healer and they strangle you, right? You create this contract. It's your ego that's creating this contract to protect yourself. So say it's the healer that got strangled to death for speaking the truth, right? Like, that's so common. And then, so in this lifetime, you're going to suppress your healing abilities or suppress speaking your truth. that's the contract that you made subconsciously to protect yourself from dying again.
Mm-hmm.
So people are always entering contracts. In fact, I'm sure that we're all entering contracts through trauma in this lifetime.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's when the new pattern starts. You made a contract. So my work's been getting really weird. I'm going to blame it on the Schumann resonance. Like, it's a crapshoot, man. I don't know what's coming down the pipeline. And it's like, oh, okay, we're going to do this. So I've literally helped people break contracts that have been written in this lifetime, like written a month ago. What's the contract, right? Let's redo that. And then there's a whole process that you go through. And then how I do it is you get post-hypnotic suggestions to really root it in to the subconscious, because you can break a contract and you can do energy work all day long. But our mind is so powerful that if it's not totally seated in the subconscious, you're going to go back to that pattern because your subconscious pretty much rules everything you do.
That's heavy. Yeah.
Right? So you have to have an element of, energy works great, but you really have to have an element of anchoring it in. And that's when the hypnosis is really important. So every time somebody has a session, they get their little I am statements, and then they're always so good doing their I am statements the first session. And then, they'll come back and I'll give them the I am statements for the new issue that we're working on. And a couple weeks later, I didn't do the I am statements like I was supposed to. And I didn't have the results. So it's super important to reprogram the subconscious mind. And even when I'm doing regular hypnotherapy, that's what I'm doing. Because some people don't want the shamanic work. Like, it's too weird. So, they just want weight loss or to stop smoking. All you're doing is you're reprogramming the subconscious mind, and you got to say it over and over and over till the subconscious mind surrenders and is like, okay, we're going to stop smoking.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost like every time you're not in the present, you're in a state of hypnosis. Every time you're pulled out of the present. And it's really interesting because I was thinking about social media today and how unaccepting and unforgiving social media has made us. And then it's like every time you jump on social media, right? Like you're in the grocery store and you're waiting in line and you jump on Facebook, it's pulling you out of the present moment. So you're not, I don't know, it's weird. It's like your perception is skewed. And you're not thinking from a heart-based, you're not thinking from your heart, you're thinking from your head. And it's literally rewired us.
I believe that. I totally believe that. Because what you just said, it always happens to me. I'm either waiting in line or something, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at my phone. I'm looking at, Facebook or Twitter or whatever.
Right. And then you're not fully in the present because you're doing two different things, right? So you're pulled between two different worlds, and then that's when you get triggered.
Exactly.
And even like when I'm walking or, I'll go to the gym and I'll listen to my podcasts and my shows and stuff at the gym. But even when I'm walking out in nature, it's like, I don't want any headphones. I don't want my phone. I want the codes of the energy around me. I want the codes and the transmissions of everything natural, like the trees, the air, the ferns, the ground beneath my feet. I want to absorb that all. I don't want to be distracted.
Exactly. That's why we got to put our phones away. Put them down, right. Look up in the sky. Maybe you might see a chemtrail and believe it for once. I'm just kidding.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Right? I mean, yes, or look up in the sky and you might see a UFO.
Or a UFO. Yeah. Something.
And we're missing out on life. Suicide and depression are like shooting through the roof right now. Oh man. Okay. So all the kids have smartphones now, and oh my gosh, all the children's suicide units around. I mean, it's not funny at all.
No, I know. I know what you mean.
Portland and Clackamas, where I'm in Clackamas County, they're all overloaded. They don't have enough room for suicidal children right now. It's like, dude, something's wrong. And you know what? I blame a lot of the parents for not being able to put their phone down.
It's really bad.
I've been guilty of it too. I've totally been guilty of it. And I still am. And my kid calls me out. He's like, put the phone down. I'd be like, oh God. Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, the reason why I bring it up is because I know I do it, and I try not to do it. Like, I honestly, I don't even have time. I shouldn't have any time, to, look at my Facebook or look at my Twitter or whatever. But because I do this program, I am, or I should do some things, that's related. And that's the only reason why I do that.
Well, it's
now I gotta justify it.
No, that's not a justification at all. We've kind of been like wedged into this thing where we have to do it. But the thing is we have to control it. And for so many people, it's controlling them. They're signing up for the program.
Mm-hmm.
They're signing up to do this. And it's totally different when we control it. And I think, a lot of society just has to come back into control and really using self-mastery to overcome everything. Like look at all this new plant-based diet stuff, and I'm better than you because I'm a vegan. Well, you know what? How about why don't we just go against the real issue that's factory farming, right? But people want to be like, oh, I'm a vegan and you eat meat, I'm better than you. It's like, no, dude. The elders eat meat. I eat meat. My cholesterol is so low that if I didn't eat meat, I would get very sick. I've had 3 different doctors that are naturopaths tell me, right? So everybody's different. We need to come into this place of acceptance and really move past this petty bickering stuff, look at what on the political arena, right? We are literally, all the sealed indictments, everything is happening. And I feel like we just really need to take everything to a deeper level.
Yeah. It's the new buzzword, virtue signaling is what it is. And
what is it called?
Virtue signaling. I just,
what is that?
I just started picking that up from Clyde's show, Clyde Lewis. But it's basically shaming and that kind of thing, and kind of like the whole Greta Thunberg, shaming us into believing that. I mean, that's part of it. Like, that we're responsible for the younger generation, and we destroyed our planet pretty much, and now they got to clean it up. And it's just ridiculous. It's just like,
well, if I may,
sure.
And I love Clyde. I listen to Clyde when I can. Oh, I just cut you off. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so the Greta Thunberg, who I totally can't stand, I think she's totally a puppet, like she's controlled. Exactly. She's not bringing any real issues to the table. Like, I just go to anger management, little girl, whatever. But we are responsible. The Hopi will tell you we are borrowing the earth from our children. So we have to leave it in good condition. But what they're going for in the carbon tax, and it's all Soros funded, it's just bull, right? But we do need to walk more softly. And I don't see what the big deal is, right? Like, it's not that hard. I'm 47. I've used canvas bags and reusable water bottles since my 20s. No one taught me that. It just seemed like the right thing to do. And then I use cloth diaper. I love these environmentalists. They always come at me, oh, you act like you use cloth diapers. It's like, well, I did. For 50% of the time, I did use cloth diapers. Anything is better than nothing at all. And I think we just all need to chill out and just make easy lifestyle changes.
Yes.
It becomes like driving a stick shift, right? Like I can get in and drive a stick shift is super easy. I can't tell you how to do it, but I could get in and drive one easy, right? And it just becomes an easy lifestyle. And we have gotten so over the top. That's why I live under a rock. I totally live under a rock. It's like, man, I do my thing. I don't even want to get caught up in what's going on out there. I want to be aware. But it's just by the time you know it, you're spread so thin that you're so depleted, and we have to pull back our energy so we can streamline and prioritize what's right. And you know, when I'm going to Peru in March for 3 weeks, and it's all about, you know, being unified with the sun behind the sun, being the children of the sun, and just being one with all that is.
That's awesome. And you know what? We are out of time, Holly. I can't believe it.
Oh my.
I know, right? It just flew by like it usually does. And awesome time, like always. We have to get you back on the show. We still need to talk more about crystal skulls and how you made it rain at one time. So, you know, we'll put that little tidbit out there for the audience.
My gosh, you remember that?
Of course I remember that. But for the audience, please, can you let them know how they can get in touch with you or your websites, everything that's you, Holly?
Yeah, I have a really quick question. When can we sign up for Patreon?
When?
Yeah.
I'll announce it probably at the end of this month or the beginning of next month.
Okay, I want to know. So people can find me at songhealings.com or just Holly Marie on Facebook.
Excellent. And any appearances?
No, I've been laying really, really low except for my retreat up at East Seti in August.
Okay, very good. Holly, thanks again for being on the show, and yeah, definitely come back and don't go away. Stick around, and I'll wrap this up, and we'll have a good night.
Thank you for having me. It was really awesome, and I appreciated the people asking questions. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you again, Holly Marie, everyone, and that was a great, fantastic show. Next week, remember there is no show. And we'll see you back here on the 23rd. So until then, everyone, have a great week. Stay safe. Stay strange. Hasta.